All right. Greetings, my friends, everybody in the chat so far. Hope you guys are having a great day, and I hope you've had a great weekend. We're almost at the end of the weekend, and I was pulled away from my original plan, which was to do this sort of a double feature streaming event on Friday, but I ended up going up to visit my parents over the weekend, which was a blast. So here we are today. Hope everybody's ready for a couple of interesting stories. One or two. We'll decide whether we're going to do the second one now or later. As it is one that you might have heard before. But as you've probably come to expect, this is the new format. I do a live story. You and I discuss it together. And then we hang out for a little bit. But tonight's a little bit special because I'm going to be live streaming Resident Evil 2, the remake. And I'll be doing that right here on YouTube. And in the future, I'm thinking about moving that over to Twitch, but I kind of wanted to give you guys a chance, the people who don't know what Twitch is or don't have a Twitch account. Wanted to give you folks a chance to hang out and play a very unnerving, unsettling game with me. So, let's see. Who do we got in the chat? Lee. We got Ellen. We got Noctis, LOA Blue, Regina Brown, Sleepy, Wolfie. Greetings, my friends. Mending Wall, Wolfsbane, John O'Connor, Larry, Gloria, Brett, Zen, and Cindy. Hello there, my friends. Hope you're all well. All right, so what we're going to be doing first is getting right into this brand new, very interesting black-eyed children encounter. I don't know if you were able to see the thumbnail that I whipped up just a few minutes ago, but that's what the stories are focused on today. So, hello there, Jessica, Lex, TJ. Greetings, my friends. So, without any further ado, we're going to get into this story, talk about it a little bit, and then we'll see what happens after that. Now for story time. Dear Mr. X, my name is Matt. Before I get into my experience, I think it's relevant to tell you that my family consists of a lot of military, police, and medical professionals. Because of this, I grew up around a lot of really grounded people, and there's not a lot that really freaks me out. I'm 18 now, and I haven't gotten deep into public service just yet. I'm more of an outdoorsman, an avid airsoft and paintball player. The story I'm about to share with you was one of the few things that have genuinely shook me to my core. It happened about a year ago. I don't remember the exact date. I was 17 at the time and was out shooting airsoft guns in the woods with my then girlfriend Jane and my little cousin Patrice. They really wanted to learn, and I decided to try teaching them the basics. After a few hours of shooting practice, we set out walking back to Patrice's house. We make it out of the woods and head towards the house, which is about a quarter-mile away. As we walk, we make it. I notice two people up ahead, about 200 yards up the street, standing on the sidewalk. They're too far away from me to make out any features in the waning light of the evening. I figure they're just a couple out for a nighttime walk. I don't think too much of it. As we draw closer to the couple, I pull Jane and Patrice into the street so we don't get in their way. Once we move into the street, the couple also stepped down off the sidewalk. I immediately notice Jane and Patrice's reactions. They get really uncomfortable, visibly. I slide my hand up to my waist where I have my hunting knife hooked to my belt. I want easy access just in case something goes bad. We keep walking down the street. As we close the distance, it becomes clear that the two people actually appear to be young children. Couldn't be older than about 13 or 14. Once we realize that, the girls both calm down, and I sort of follow suit. Still though, as we approach the two kids about to pass them, I get this feeling of anxiety. Somehow I feel cornered and depressed. Suddenly, about 6 feet in front of us, the children stop in their tracks, abruptly asking us to borrow a phone and call a guardian. I notice there's a boy and a girl, even younger than I'd previously guessed. The boy is no more than 9 years old, and the girl maybe 11 or 12. The girl's face tilted down as she spoke. I can only see her mouth and nose. The boy's face is completely turned and facing the ground. I wonder to myself, what kind of kid asks for a guardian instead of a parent? A thought that quickly amplifies in my mind, adding to the anxious feeling. I apologize to the girl, telling her I don't have a phone, but direct her to a nearby payphone at the 7-Eleven, off in the direction we just came from. She quickly responds that they tried that one already and it didn't work. I already know she's lying, and that makes me even more nervous. I tell her that we saw someone using the payphone earlier. When that doesn't convince her, I try telling her to leave us alone, and I instantly realize I've made my first mistake. She jerks her head angrily, looking up at me, and her eyes. Two conflicting sensations wash over me. The need to either fight or flee, and the opposing, intense urge to help these children. I look over at Jane, who's begun shaking uncontrollably with tears streaming down her cheeks. I unholster my airsoft gun from my back and hold it out where they can see it, demanding that they get out of our way. The girl calmly says, "If you let me call a guardian, I will leave." I tell her no, and she balls up her fists, tensing her body as if getting ready to attack me. I pump the handle to my airsoft shotgun, dropping a fake shell casing on the ground, hoping the kids don't know it's not a real gun, and repeat my demand. Leave us alone. She responds, "Fine," but this time with a much older sounding voice, like that of a young woman rather than that of a little girl. The two children step back up onto the sidewalk and turn toward us, glaring intently. I point the airsoft gun at them as we walk off into the night, never taking my eyes off the two figures. After a while, they turn and begin walking into the woods, glancing back at us over and over again, almost looking disappointed. Once they disappear into the trees, the three of us break into a sprint. All the rest of the 2 blocks back to my cousin's house. Patrice is so shaken that she falls to the ground crying and exhausted as soon as we get through the door. She says the little boy was staring at her, emotionless. Oddly, I never noticed him look up at all until after we left them behind. She also explains that she had this feeling that we were being watched from the forest, and that she'd felt an intense need to go there with the children. All I could think of is how dark their eyes were, how they stood out even against the shadows of the night as we got further away from them. My uncle, a police officer, comes downstairs to see what the fuss is about. We tell him what we saw. Being a cop, he figures that if there are lost or missing children out there, they must need our help. He puts on his duty belt and hands me his backup .32 pistol in case I need to protect myself, and we head out to where the kids were last seen. We search the forest area for over an hour, but no signs of anyone. I noticed the empty shotgun shell I dropped was also nowhere to be found. My uncle took his partner out to the area the next day to look for any more signs of the kids, and all they found was my shell casing, just sitting there in the middle of a clearing. I have no idea what the deal was with those kids. I held on to that shell casing just in case anything ever comes of it. I also plan to investigate any future sightings of strange children in my area. I've actually heard rumors of children being used by kidnappers to lure in victims. Either way, I will continue to research this. Please let me know what you think, Mr. X. Thanks for listening. Sincerely, Matt. All right. Pretty interesting story if you ask me. Let me catch up with the chat. See if anybody's shown up. Jessica, I didn't see you there before. Nino Brown, Roseanne, let's see, G Music. Amzikins, hello there, my friend. Legendary moderator, Amzikins. I might need to make a few more mods, because I realize I've been pretty stingy with that title. I can only give that title to people that I truly have observed, proving themselves to be a high caliber, high level dreamer. M, greetings my friend. Let's see here. Lurch, Logan, hello there, my friend. All right, let's see if there's anything in the chat that I need to address. Were you guys getting a lot of lag there? I'm not seeing any dropped frames or anything, or not a lot anyway. If you did get any, I'm sorry about that. Let's see here. Black-eyed children. Strange history they have, really, on the internet. As far as I've seen, if I remember correctly, Black-eyed children was initially some kind of hoax or something like that, and I don't know if it manifested itself in real life, in the real world somehow, after being kind of introduced into the collective human consciousness or what have you. But there's been a lot of sightings of such creatures throughout the years, including, and some old school dreamers might be aware of this, but there was it's an old video. Somebody asked, what does BEK mean? And yeah, Snips rectified that. Thank you, Snips. There's an old video on my channel that's labeled Black-eyed children, but it's actually something strange, something different. it was almost like a total reversal of the roles of the normal black-eyed children, in which they will, children, usually a pair, boy and a girl, typically, with completely jet black eyes, are trying to gain access into someone's home. Well, this other story that I put up on my channel from a long time ago that actually took place during my own childhood was with these two children that encountered my younger brother, and they had white eyes, and they were trying to get my brother to come into a house, a strange house that was there one day and gone the next. Let me know if any of you guys remember that story on my channel back in the day. Only an old school dreamer would be aware of that or have seen it. Amzakin, sorry you couldn't stay, my friend. Hope you have a great night. Low Lightning, greetings, my friend. Let's see who else. Wolf's Bane, not sure if I saw you there before. Hello, Sleepy Time. Shells, hello there, my dear. Good to see you. Larry, who else? Kevin, greetings. Pamela, Abby, and here we go. Yeah, someone like Shells would definitely remember the white-eyed children story. Cindy, too. You guys have been around for quite a while. Master Panda, the Lionheart. Good. So, Zen 2011, you remember as well? That's awesome. There's a lot more old school dreamer souls in here that remember that stuff. Yeah, pretty much any kid that tries to gain access to your home, just generally not to be trusted. Jessica Bullock, greetings, my friend. You said you'd come here, and you did, so very nice. I appreciate that. Excuse me 1 second, guys. All right. Yeah, just had to clear my throat there a little bit. 6 now, 25 GTO. Man, there's a lot of old school folks in here tonight. That's pretty cool. Noctis asks, what happens if the if the kid gets in? Oh my goodness, Regina. Hey, Mr. X. $20 donation. Hey, Mr. X. I have to get back to work. Thanks for your hard work. Thank you so much, Regina. I very much appreciate that, folks. First donation of the night. That's very sweet of you. I appreciate it. Zen asks, how's my brother doing? I actually just spoke to him the other day. He's doing great. He lives in Canada these days, so very far away from those white-eyed children that were down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, around that area. And yep, Snips, you remember it as well. Man, most of you, it seems like a lot of you folks in the chat tonight are old school OG ride or die dreamers, and I appreciate the hell out of you for that. You guys are still coming through and rocking with me. That's very awesome of you. So that's what I was thinking. Medusa Productions, greetings, my friend. I'm trying to do live streams every weekend, since I don't really have time to do the normal produced videos, but at least I can do a live reading of a new story for you, at least once a week, sometime during the weekend. And hope you guys continue to enjoy and support this format, because that's kind of what my my product is evolving into these days, because I simply don't have time to sit down and spend 8 hours doing production on that. Oh my goodness, Jessica, thank you so much. Jessica D, $15. Loving these live streams, thank you. You all are touching my heart, right underneath my original OG Mr. X Dreams t-shirt from teespring.com. And I don't know if you guys notice, along the bottom of the screen here, I've got my all my handles, my Twitter, my Instagram, and my Teespring store address scrolling over there. I'm very proud of that, so I want to make sure you guys see the cool little effect that I did there. I feel kind of like a grandpa just figuring out Facebook or something like that, because I don't know why it took me so long to figure out that that was a possibility to do that, but I dig it, and hope you do too. Dr. Blue, my friend, you've been around for a long time as well. Norman J, greetings, my friend, old school ride or die subscriber. Brett, you're in Canada, are you? Yeah, my brother lives up in the Toronto area. Married a Canadian woman. Let's see, any update on the woman who was visited by a white entity? You commented on that a while back. Hopefully the woman is okay. Lionheart 21, can you remind me of what white entity that was, or what the video was that you're referring to? Medusa Productions. Okay, hold on. Larry, you said you live in Jacksonville. Jacksonville, that's an interesting area. I've been through there a few times, did some training up there. Medusa Productions, do you do sponsors? I would, but most of them haven't gotten back to me. And the one that did, I didn't jump on it when I could, which is unfortunate in retrospect. Let's see here. John O'Connor said you'd rather have something like this over produced videos. That's good to hear. Need some scary stories for all these dreamers. James Barker, greetings, my friend. Let's see. Dark Waters, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. All right. Whenever I know Dark Waters is watching, I'm like, all right, I got to be on point. Can't be messing around with Dark Waters watching. Jessica D, we're getting you in the fields. Yes, you are. You guys touch my heart. And look at this, Dr. Blue, $4.99. Look at Mr. X pimping out his shirt. Still love my hoodie. Hope you are doing good, bro. I am doing good. I hope you still rock that hoodie. And I know your female friend probably likes hers too, I bet. I hope so. Tim Dog, what's up, fam? Good to see you. Arlene, ride or die, as always. Been too cold and snowy for me to take a picture of me in my new sweatshirt. Oh, Wolfsbane, did you get a sweatshirt from the Mr. X Dreams website? That's awesome. If you did, yeah, just whenever you can, make sure you send me that shirt so I can add you to my let me see here. There we go. My slideshow. I haven't updated in a while because I haven't gotten a whole bunch of pictures, but whenever I get a nice chunk of them, I will certainly do that, especially with the new designs and stuff like that that are up in the store right now. Gloria, greetings, my friend. Yes, Dark Waters is in the house. Always a pleasure to have him there. Yeah, he adds a lot of insight, and actually, I'm glad he is here because maybe he might know a little bit about the situation that could happen when a black-eyed child or a group of black-eyed children actually make it into someone's house. It's not good. If I recall correctly, I don't know if it was a story that he did on his channel or if it was just I was talking to him on the phone, which we sometimes do, and he mentioned to me that there was a story where a young lady was dealing with these black-eyed children, and she kind of succumbed to that desire, that feeling that you get of wanting to help them and wanting to be their savior, sort of. And she ended up getting into a physical altercation with the black-eyed children, and one of them grabbed her ankle, and she was able to somehow drive them out of her home. But the next day, that spot that she was touched by the black-eyed child if it was a girl, if I'm not mistaken. That spot had turned like black, and it was like it ended up being a severe injury to her that was very, very mysterious. All right. Anyone else? If anyone else is lagging, please let me know. I'm seeing once in a while, I see somebody saying it's there's a lag going on there. That's no good. Still not getting a lot of dropped frames or anything in my information here, but let's see if I can make some alterations at all to improve this real quick. Excuse me. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Hopefully, I'm back in action and things will get a little bit better over here. Because I don't know if you guys are aware, but I do want to, or I plan to be streaming the beginning of Resident Evil 2, the remake, in just a few minutes once I'm done with this. Once I'm done with this live story time session. And if it's having trouble with this little bit of stuff, I know it's going to have trouble streaming a game like that. So let's catch up with the chat if you guys are okay. Looks like my stream health has returned to the place where it should be. And I know I missed a few people while I was away fixing these issues. Let's see here. Quinn Garrett, greetings, my friend, from Tacoma. Okay, what else? Who else snuck in here when I wasn't looking? Buffering once in a while. Yeah, there's definitely a storm. There's definitely a storm going on outside my window over here. Should be good though from now on. All right. So, you guys tell me how I'm looking right now. Hopefully it's all good. Every once in a while I get these little technical difficulties that remind me that the universe laughs when I plan. Shells. Okay, wait a minute. You said Philia. Okay, are you guys both in Ireland? Noctis and Shells. I'm assuming Shells is in Ireland, as her name suggests. Welcome back, Mr. X from John O'Connor. Thank you. All right. All good? Good. So, I I was wondering if you guys didn't have if a significant number of you had never heard the White-Eyed Children story. I was prepared to read that one for you, but it looks like a bunch of you have actually seen it. So, I'll put it to a vote. If you would like to hear that story, even if you heard it again, I'm sure you haven't heard it in a while. I want to know how many people have seen it and how many have not seen it and would like to see it. Or hear it, rather, right now, because I've got it queued up and ready to rock. Getting a text message. All right, here we go. Okay. Some of my dreams again. That is something I'm going to be doing at some point in the near future. Arlene, you've been here from the beginning of the channel. Is that right? Goodness gracious. Yeah, Snips, you've been here for a while as well. Okay. Noctis, handsome as ever. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. I just got a fresh haircut. Just took care of that. I usually like to shave it once every 2 weeks or so. I'm kind of getting to once a week at this point, though. So it's all fresh and clean. All right. Still getting people losing signal. Everything looks good on my end. I'm not sure what's going on with that. All right. It looks like everybody's pretty much down with reading this White-Eyed Children story. So I'm gonna refill my water, just so I'm ready to go, and then we will get right into that, so we can speak about it. Because one thing that's going to be different is that it was the last time I read this story, or the video that I did with the story, it was long before I ever was able to give you guys a chance to respond to it in real time. So this time, you'll be able to chat about it, and then afterwards we can talk. We can talk a little bit about what that story told us and what the implications might be. And I know I just saw someone come into the chat. Someone who's very famous in their own little circle. Ray Ayanami. It's a pretty legendary character. I hope you're able to live up to that name. All right. No, well, I had hair this morning, but I just sacrificed it all to the tile in my bathroom today. Not long before I jumped online, actually. All right, let's see here. Okay. Here we go. Hey, Rebecca Adams. Greetings. Good to see you, my friend. Say hi to Brad for me. Another one of the oldest of the old school. All right, so I think I'm just going to read. This is kind of a long story, so you guys are in for a treat. Strap in, sit back, relax, and now's your last chance to go take a piddle, a tinkle, if necessary, before we get into this. Yeah, I have my great grandfather was from Ireland originally, I think, or maybe one of his parents were from Ireland and went to Jamaica. One of these days I'll make it over there, and we'll see how that goes though. If I ever do, I'm gonna look up Shells and knock on her door, unexpected. All right, so this story, the way I wrote it, it's exactly, I haven't changed it. It is what it was in 2016 or whatever it was that I actually wrote this down. Story happened when I was about 12 or 13 years old. And I'm going to read it in exactly the same way as pretty much exactly the same way as I wrote it back then. So if it sounds a little bit different than the way you're used to me sounding now, for the newer people to the channel, the newer arrivals, you guys will see how different my writing style used to be. But for the people who've been around, which is a pretty significant number of you, that will it'll be a flashback, a throwback to the old school Mr. X Dreams experience. So, and also before I begin, make sure you guys click the thumbs up on this video. I always forget to say that during live streams, and no more. All right, let's go to story time. Greetings, friends. I titled this interview Black-Eyed Children because, to be honest, that's the best and closest description I could think of. As you'll see, the children in this story, this true story, were almost the negative of what you commonly hear of black-eyed children. Normally, these are children with inky black eyes who try to convince you to let them into your home at night. You'll see what I mean later on. This all started one afternoon when I was about age 12 or 13. My younger brother Steve, who was around 10 years old, had found a new park about 20 minutes away from where we lived. We rode our bikes there along with a few of the neighborhood kids we used to run with. There were already some bigger kids playing tackle football, so we joined in with them. Though I was a better fit for the game, being unusual and strong, my brother wasn't one to back down from a game. He was much smaller than I was at the time. He held his own, running circles around the larger kids, using his speed and agility to his great advantage on the field. Unfortunately, he still took several hits. Eventually, he began to complain to me about having a bad headache. I told him to get ready to go home. Disheartened, he decided it was time to quit and ride home on his bike. I stayed behind, feeling a bit guilty about letting him go alone, but not wanting to patronize or make him feel coddled. I noticed as he rode off, disappearing from my view, that he wasn't going back the same way we came for some reason. This was long before the days of cell phones, so I simply had to trust that he knew what he was doing, or at least that he could find his way home safely. I continued on with the intense game and headed home, expecting to find Steve there waiting for me. He wasn't. Now, for his side of things. Steve wasn't quite sure which way we came from, so he just got on his bike and started riding. After a block or two, he saw a small Scottish terrier. It looked a bit old and tired, salt and pepper gray with a tuft of white fur, resembling a beard and mustache on its face. A red and green plaid scarf was tied loosely around his neck, giving it a rather adorably authentic Scottish look. The dog started to follow him. It all seemed playful at first, so he tried reaching out to pet it while still on the bike, riding as the dog scurried alongside him. But unexpectedly, the dog nipped at him. Surprised, he reached out again, and the dog bit his finger. He decided to give up and just ignore the dog, but it kept on following. The little terrier jolted out in front of the bike, spreading its body out on the ground, laterally, as if to force my brother into changing course. Steve pressed his brakes and veered to avoid hitting the dog, which had begun to snarl and move erratically, lunging at the bike a second time. Steve started getting the feeling that there was an intent behind the animal's actions. Perhaps it was acting as trained for a specific purpose. Maybe it belonged to an owner who had fallen or needed help. The Scotty dog, as he called it, appeared to be trying to guide him toward a certain street. He followed, thinking that someone must have needed help. It's very typical of my brother, by the way. The dog led him to a dead-end street, a cul-de-sac with a single house at the end of it. The terrier darted off down the road, stopping every so often to make sure that Steve was still following. As he got closer to the house, he noticed two children standing on the sidewalk out front, a boy and a girl. They both had bleached blonde hair, almost white, and wore ornate baby blue clothing. The boy was dressed like a figure skater, a frilly button-up shirt and shorts. He had an archaic-looking hinged metal brace on one leg, and wore a pair of those Dutch wooden shoes. Bit of a tongue twister there. The girl wore an old English-style dress with a fluffy skirt. The two children looked like porcelain dolls at your grandmother's house, the ones that no one ever plays with. Steve said that as soon as he got within about 20 yards of the children, he was hit with a deep sense of dread and horror. He didn't think they could physically hurt him, but his fight-or-flight instinct was instantly triggered, like a panic button being pressed frantically in his mind. It was the visceral reaction of prey in the face of a predator. He knew that if he tried to run away, they would see his fear and he would somehow suffer for the attempt. He pretended to be unafraid and continued toward them, knowing that there was no chance of avoiding the confrontation. The dog ran up and sat quietly next to the kids. Steve puffed out his chest, trying to make himself seem larger, though he already towered above the diminutive pair. When he got close enough, the boy leapt forward and grabbed the handlebars of the bike, placing his legs on either side of the wheel, restricting my brother's movements while also invading his personal space. He could feel the immense strength of the frail, small-looking boy, immobilizing the bike. The girl walked up slowly as the boy stared. Steve averted his eyes, fearful of looking at the children directly as they asked him a barrage of questions. They wanted to know his name, where he lived. He hesitantly responded with lies, saying his name was Jimmy, and that he wasn't from around here, trying to deflect as many questions as he could. The boy and girl took turns asking invasive questions in a unilateral conversation. They asked a question. He gave an answer. Every so often, he tried to interject with his own question, but they never acknowledged his attempts. They would simply ask another question which he then felt compelled to answer. He was afraid of lying to them in the same way a boy would have reservations lying to any authority such as a parent, a teacher, or a police officer. In this interrogation, the boy was obviously the bad cop. His eyes were relentlessly grilling my brother and demanding answers. The girl was more of a good cop, her eyes softer, her demeanor less invasive, more inviting and warm. She offered enticing prospects and deals instead of just telling him what to do. Steve had the distinct sense that the girl was actually the one in control. Unlike normal black-eyed children who try to convince unsuspecting home dwellers to let them in, these incessantly invited him to go inside their house. The environment around the house seemed hazy and out of focus. His memory of the house itself is obscure at best, other than its dark, oaken color and tall, prominent stained-glass window in the front door. His focus was on the two terrifying children, with a special attention to avoiding eye contact with either one of them. He made the mistake of looking into the girl's eyes once, and only once. They were almost a white crystal blue with nearly invisible, pinpointed pupils. She kept maneuvering her face into his field of view, as if to make him look her in the eyes again. He never looked at the boy's face directly, a fact that seemed to infuriate the bizarre child. He described the encounter as the feeling of being challenged by a wolf when you've stumbled into its territory. His body was burning to get out of the confrontation. He felt like he was drowning. The girl kept saying that they had treats in the house, while the boy insisted adamantly that Steve come inside for a game of cards. He noticed their language was the most generic English he had ever heard. No contemporary lingo or unusual terminology. Nothing to place them in any particular time or space. Steve told the children he had somewhere to be, and of course, they asked where, what, and why. He knew the only way to get out alive was to talk his way out. At this time in his life, he was short-fused and no stranger to a fight. He knew in his heart, though, this was not a battle of body, but a contest of the mind. He decided to make them a deal. He told them he had a headache and needed to go home, but that he was a frequent visitor to the area and hung out there all the time. This was obviously a lie, being that it was our first time there. He assured them that he'd try to come back to play with them the next day, and if not then, he'd come find them the day after. After a deafening silence, the boy's face displayed an angry look, and he said he didn't know if that would work. Steve gave him his word, but the girl innocently asked, "Do you promise?" With a look of slight mistrust, but willingness to give him the benefit of the doubt. He promised. Then the boy asked with a grave tone, "Do you swear?" Steve could feel the boy's glare cut deeply into him. We were always taught never to swear, but he knew it was the only way to get out. So he said yes. The boy looked back at the girl for confirmation, and she stared back at him silently. He reluctantly peeled his fingers off the handlebars and let the bike go. His nostrils flared as his breathing grew heavy and labored. With the first welcome feelings of relief starting to flush over his face, Steve told them to relax, that he'd be back. He rode back to the corner and pedaled as hard as he could non-stop. He went so fast he thought that his muscles would explode through his own skin. He arrived home at twilight, crashing his bike on the front lawn and getting up in one smooth motion to run into the house, looking for me. He found me in my room and told me everything, rambling barely intelligible words in his panic and excitement. I asked him to calm down, and he explained himself more clearly. He said he remembers me listening intently from start to finish. He expected skepticism and was waiting for me to roll my eyes at the story, but instead was relieved to see my eyes darting back and forth in thought as I processed the information, listening to every word. He was relieved to see my open-mindedness. It made him feel a little bit more validated. After pondering it all, I said to him, "You know what we have to do. We need to go back there." The next morning, I called a meeting of all the neighborhood boys, knocking on doors and rounding everyone up. Steve made sure I was the one to tell the story, being the understood ringleader of the ragtag crew of about 13 local kids. As I recounted to everyone what had happened to my brother, with him standing by my side, we could hear hushed murmurs and snickering among the group, but that faded away gradually as the story went on. I told them I was assembling a party to investigate the area where it took place. Only about half the boys volunteered. We formed up with all our bikes and as many handheld weapons as we could get: baseball bats, hockey sticks, and my signature hand-carved wooden swords. It's a little piece of Mr. X trivia from back in the day. Steve led the charge, backed by me and around half a dozen squad members bringing up the rear, the most loyal guys in the crew of 13-year-olds. Steve retraced his steps, but couldn't find the house. In fact, we couldn't even find the street, despite us knowing we were in the correct area, and that there was only a span of a few blocks where it could possibly have been. He looped around the pathway he took many times, and we eventually had to give up, heading home. To be honest, most of us were probably relieved that we wouldn't have to confront such a bizarre place as the house with the stained glass window, let alone the 2 terrifying children that resided there. I myself was a bit disappointed. As I interviewed my brother for his side of the story, my mind shifted back to the promise the oath that he made with these strange white-eyed children. I wondered if they'd ever forgotten or forgiven his promise to someday come back and play with them. He has a child of his own now, and I can only hope and pray that she never finds herself lost on a dead-end road with those two porcelain figurines standing at the end. Just to be safe, I hope she never runs into a little dog on her way home from the park, as her father once did. Thanks for listening, my friends. All right. It's still trippy even to this day, reliving that, because I remember the day that my brother came to me and told me that story. Man, you guys have been real busy in this chat. I'm going to have to catch up with this real quick before we discuss it. Let's see here. All right. So one thing that really wait a minute, what's going on with Rebecca? Had a heart procedure on Wednesday. Goodness gracious, Rebecca. I hope everything's all right. And I hope you get better soon, recover as quickly as possible so you can get back out there and continue doing your thing. Arlene, you said, well, you've got a beautiful head, Mr. X. Well, thank you very much. It's big, but it's mine, and I keep it nice and shiny for you guys. Lionheart was about Venus, the Incubus encounter with Venus on June 2016. That is right. That I've heard from Venus a few times in the years since then, and I believe the last time I sent her a message, I never got a response. But she said she was doing okay, if I recall correctly. One thing that's always good night, Nino Brown. Hope you have a great night and enjoy your week coming up. Let's see here. James Fritz, greetings, my friend. Good to have you here. I'm doing quite well. Yes, Jessica, the description of the eyes, the way he mentioned it, it's almost like the eyes were not completely white, but they were so ice blue, so pale blue, and so constricted that it was essentially, it looked like it had almost the appearance of a totally white eye. But one thing I always like to say with this story is the way I treat people. When people send me these Dear Mr. X stories and explain the bizarre experiences they've had, things that they can't tell their husbands, their wives, things that they can't tell anyone else for fear of them not being taken seriously. It's funny looking back at that and knowing that I was still the same person as I am today in that way. When somebody tells me something crazy that sounds crazy, I still listen and I still evaluate it and sort of take their word for it for the most part, unless there's something that they're obviously pulling my leg. Yeah, so that's the that might have been one of the first really crazy things that someone came to me and told me. It was my own younger brother. The ragtag posse back in the day, we didn't really have a name, but we did refer to ourselves as, well, not ourselves, but where we lived as Fifth Street. And that was the thing. Are you from Fifth Street? If you're not from Fifth Street, then, you're gonna have to kind of gain our trust before you are absorbed into the crew, and very few people were able to do that. We had some rivalries from other areas, and it was nothing crazy. Never got any violent other anything violent other than a couple of little scuffles between teenagers. Back in those days, you can get into a fight and lose or win or whatever, and only thing that happens after that is you either gain respect for the person or lose respect for the person. It wasn't any foul play going on after the fact, and it was pretty nice. But something I noticed, I want to get you guys' opinion on. The language used by those kids was kind of my brother described it as being generic. Like there was nothing that he could pin down to identify the kids. They had no accent. They didn't use any specific words that would identify anything about them. And he couldn't place them in any particular time or location. And it kind of gave me this idea that these people, these creatures, or these entities, or these kids were possibly from somewhere out of time, something outside of our normal experience. Not to mention the fact that their house, an unmistakable large house with very distinct features, was just nowhere to be found. And I remember, to this day, I remember going there, going to that area, and I saw where my brother went. And I know that we were in the right area, but just not being, my brother was almost in tears, still trying to kind of keep it together, but he was so befuddled and so disappointed and confused about the fact that this house where this incident occurred was completely gone. And yeah, it's just a disturbing set of memories. But that was one of the earliest things that happened to me. One of them that made me realize that some weird stuff going on. Okay, let's see here. Samantha, hello there, my friend. Glad to see you here. So you said they spoke an unknown language. Can't remember where they were from. Wait a minute. I think I might have missed something. Definitely from another dimension, Samantha says. Had anyone read about the children who were green? They thought they may be from it. Ah, yes, I believe. I can't remember what they were called, but it was the kids that came from the base of a tree, and from inside some world inside the tree or under the tree, and they would only eat beans, and they said they were from a place that had no light. And yeah, I used to know a lot more about that story. I read it a couple of times, but it's been a while. JJ, greetings, my friend. I do remember you, JJ Youngblood. I could have sworn I've seen you around since I've been doing these face cam deals. Pretty sure. Stacy, hello there, my friend. It's a good name. I like that name. Let's see here. Brett, I was awake during my encounter and yet seemed removed from sight. Otherwise, okay. So another thing I might have missed. What was Brett saying before? See, this is why I need I don't know why I didn't call Nix today. I should have. Brett, you're going to have to tell me, or just copy and paste the thing that you were talking about that was removed from your site, because that sounds interesting. Let me see, there was something else here that I've highlighted. Yeah, I can't find it. Yeah, all right. there's anybody in the chat that I haven't greeted, make sure you guys let me know. Okay. Kelly, Blackert, greetings. Maharet Madsen, hello there. Barely made it, huh? Sorry about that. Well, I'm actually going to be wrapping this stream up pretty soon. We got 2 pretty good stories. Hope you guys enjoyed those. And I hope you are clicking that like button, because that does help push my videos out a little bit more. And if you're not subscribed, you're probably not here. But if you're not and you happen to be here, please do subscribe. Make sure you do that so you can get in on these every so often. I'm trying to do them once a week now. Axeman, greetings, my friend. So, I'm going to... Wait a minute. Mr. X. Hey, Mr. X. It's me, Axeman Cartoons. What's up? You trying to tell me something, Axeman? Let's get on with it. Tell me what you're gonna tell me. Don't keep me in suspense now, Axeman. Oh my God, Bottomless is done. A 2-sentence horror story that I wrote quite a while back. If you guys, most of you, and it's the majority of you guys in the chat right now, old school ride or die dreamers are aware of a video called 15 2-sentence horror stories that I released quite a while back. And one of those stories has just been animated by the legendary Axeman Cartoons. And if you haven't subscribed over on his channel, make sure you do so and keep an eye out for that video coming pretty soon. Tariko, greetings, my friend. Hello there. So, check it out. Those of you who are just making it on, this stream is about to be over because I have been dying to play Resident Evil 2, the remake. I've got it ready to rock and roll, and we're about to get into this in just a few minutes. What I'm going to do, I have a very special surprise for any of you guys that like to see me do new things and hopefully not fail at them. I got a pretty cool green screen situation that I'm going to try to set up. I'm going to shut this stream down, set everything up, and then I'll pop right back onto YouTube because I know not all of you use Twitch. I'll pop back on and hopefully I'll have the green screen rolling so that you guys can see more of the game, and you're going to see me go through some pretty nerve-wracking and terrifying situations. Oh man, a Resident Evil 3 remake would be awesome. In the same graphics engine, which I'm sure they would use. Resident Evil 3 with Nemesis and Jill Valentine, that would be super dope. But we're about to get this on. If you guys give me a few minutes, I'm going to be right back online. It's going to be a separate video, separate stream, so just keep an eye out on that. Make sure you thumbs up on this one, like, subscribe, share, and everything. But if you still have some time to hang out and you want to see me play Resident Evil 2 starting from the beginning, just sit back, relax for a minute, stand by. I will be back on in about probably 5-10 minutes. I might go hit the head for a minute as well. Werewolf, greetings, my friend. Wait a minute, someone else might have just got here too. Xavier, or Xavier, greetings. Clarissa, I don't know if I said hi to you, Clarissa. Pretty sure I did, but yeah. If you guys are actually okay, wait, yep, you're right. Thank you, Snips. I need a code word. Code word. Let's see. Somebody give me an idea for a code word. Lex, did I get your NDE? I don't know. I actually haven't been able to check my Mr. X Dreams email in a little bit. I'll check it. I'll be checking it soon, and I'm getting through everything. Ragtag. That's a good one. So, for this video, if you got all the way to the end, The secret code word of today is ragtag. So put that in a comment in the comment section down below from the video. Whether you're watching it right now or watching it after the fact when this is uploaded as a regular upload. Oh, you can't see that, can you? Kind of jacked up my hand boxing the other day. Yeah, so enter the word ragtag, and that'll let me know that you made it all the way to the end of this hour and 13-minute long stream. So put that in the comment section down below. So if you guys want to hang out for a few minutes, just wait around a few minutes and I'll be popping back on in a separate live stream playing Resident Evil 2. All right. So yeah, Clarissa, sorry about that. You snuck in there on me. So the special super top secret word, ragtag. Scarlet Witch, I'm going to be coming back on in a few minutes. Just give me about 5-10 minutes. I'm going to jump on for another hour and a half to play Resident Evil 2. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I already know. All right, my friends. You guys have a good night. If you're not going to be joining me over there, that's fine. I'll see you hopefully next week with another story. And thank you all so much, especially those who donated. I appreciate you all very, very much. I love you guys. It's good to see you. Good hanging out for a few minutes. Catch me on this same channel, same Mr. X time, same Mr. X channel, Resident Evil 2 in about 10